All right. So again, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was just art. When you're doing anything independent, anything for your own portfolio, anything for your own website, pay attention to all the rules of art. It's one of the 5 key components of you putting out your own production value. The second thing is story. And there are a couple of things that I wanted to just kind of put out there for everyone to think about. And that is that there are just being human is a good advantage to understanding story. Animals, like large animals, whales, bears, dolphins, they understand pieces of story. Elephants understand a little story arc. They'll understand death. Bees can tell stories to each other. But it's us as sentient humans that can really put together complex narratives, metaphors, similes, all the complexities of mythology. So I just wanted to put that out there because in the act of being human, we can say, oh, that was a great movie or that was a great story, but I think that I want you to understand why. It's not okay that a story just has a beginning and a middle and an end. I think you need surprise. You need maybe an unexpected ending. And so don't gravitate towards this Hollywoodism where everything has to be a roller coaster ride. Not your stories don't have to be the superhero Avengers, Marvel, DC comic movies. I think that the audiences are getting really tired of that. They're getting really tired of these Batman, Superman, Spider-Man movies that take you on these thrill rides, and you know that the hero is going to win in the end. And so I think it just becomes a little obvious for American style storytelling. So look other places. Look to Korean storytelling. I don't know that. Look to your own culture. Look to European storytelling. They've had major wars and plagues in that whole area, the region, the continent, and it's affected everything. It affects how they live. It affects how they think. And so pay attention to the beginning, the middle, and the end of a story, but remember that the idea is to be entertained. That's the whole point of the story, is entertainment. It can be real, it can be fabricated, real, fabricated. So keep that in mind. And you don't want to always just do some sort of documentary. All right, then the third point is animation. And this is different than the drawing part of it. This is the style of animation. So look to kids anime. So kids anime like Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever has a very, very limited style of animation. In typical animation, you're going to have 24 frames per second. But in the country of Japan, they're at 30 FPS. I lied, I'm sorry. We're at 25 FPS, which was called PAL. But since then, they've switched to 30 FPS. But it's not like they're animating every frame. It's not like they say, oh, I have 30 drawings per second. That's not what it is. They're going to use 10 drawings per second. They're going to use 8 drawings per second, as little drawings as to get away with. So, and what I mean by this is not Miyazaki. I'm not talking about Spirited Away or Kiki's Delivery Service. Those are like Hayao Miyazaki just making art. He's making a craft that is just absolutely beautiful. But what I'm talking about is the Japanese anime, which can be very, very limited. They might have 20 seconds of animation where there's only 20 drawings because they're repeating mouth shapes, and it's all about the image sound relationship. So what do they have? They have an equivalent of $30,000 to do a half-hour TV show. They're not going to be able to animate the whole thing. They just can't. They have a library of run cycles and walk cycles and explosions that they can put in, and they're just going to use the different voices for the stories. That's all they're going to do. So having said that, the other range is your Disney. your original Don Bluth, where animation is really lush and beautiful. In the 2D world, that's almost impossible to create these days because it's just so expensive. And so for you, I would pay attention to making that transition from pencil drawings for animation, which are completely different, pencil on paper, into the stylus. And so make sure that you know both. Make sure that you know how to draw with pencil on paper, and that includes charcoal and all the colored pencils, and that you've discovered what it's like to draw in Photoshop and in Rough Animator and in Toon Boom Harmony, and just find your little nook where you're comfortable drawing, because the animation itself, there's a whole different range of styles of drawing within the movement of animation. I don't think that we've discovered anything new. Rotoscope is not animation. Rotoscope is just tracing live action. We know that. But there's a whole range. Just make sure your drawings are good. You're looking at some sort of production value, some sort of really clean art direction. All right, point number 4 is cinema. We haven't really talked about cinema too much in this class or in my animation class, but right around the turn of 1929 to 1930, all the rules for cinema had basically been locked in. And one of the reasons why that era was important was because the technology for motors inside the movie cameras had come to a point where everything was 24 FPS. It was either an electric or a battery operated motor, and it was a consistent frame rate. No one was having to hand crank their movie cameras anymore. So they hadn't been doing that for 10 years, but the lenses made a huge difference. Being able to change from a zoom lens to a close-up lens to a wide angle lens made production value for cinema just that much more lush, that much more beautiful. Having said that, there is one thing that you would want to pay attention to, and that is that as those cameras became more complicated, all the way up until modern times, it did require even live action cinematographers, directors, to think about their shots. And in pre-production, that's the idea of saying, we can't just go on location here. We're gonna have to do a drawing. We're gonna have to figure out where we want our background, midground, and foreground elements. We can't just go get all of our camera equipment and our film and our whole crew and go out somewhere without the proper permits, without all the things that go along with the scientific part of cinematography. It would be fiscally irresponsible to just try to do that. But when you think about the science and the logic behind the camera itself, the movie camera, that it shares its opacity with art. It shares it with art and animation. So those rules for cinema, close-ups and composition, all of the rules for cinema just apply to us. That was number 4. Okay, and then number 5 is characters. And I know that this can kind of go haywire a little bit sometimes. If we had a character design class, what happens is that without years and years of experience, that the typical students kind of gravitate towards the easy things like simple shapes or copying things that they've already liked or that they've seen. But remember that can be anything. And that ties us back into just drawing for animation, is that I want you to always keep an open mind about what it is for character design. It can be absolutely anything. Hopefully you don't lose the invitation to my Pinterest board for story, just because I always keep adding things to it. I think I added like a couple of things just today. And remember that this is always me thinking about everything I just mentioned: art, characters, character design, characterization, cinema. There's all of that is embedded just in this one board right here. And hopefully you could just keep going back to this for whenever you need it. All right, so remember, 5 different things: art, story, animation, cinema, cinematography, and characters. That is your 5 main things that you want to pay attention to. Okay, so having said that, that was my big introduction to the okay, so let me get back here now. All right, so I'm going to, oops, hold on. Refresh this. And the one important thing that I wanted to mention here was that we have just, have done just a phenomenal amount of work this semester. I gave Paul a file that had like 600 images in it or something. So when he's going to be putting together I don't think he's going to do a spring show. I think he's going to do like a series of spring shows that's going to go up on YouTube. It's just going to live there. And then he's going to broadcast those addresses, those links out to everybody in the next couple of weeks, something like that. I think that we missed the deadline for trying to put things from today in there, but that's okay. Remember the other thing that I was going to say here was that I didn't boost up any of these point values here, like for our thumbnails or even the animatics for today. It's 44 points. And the thing that I wanted to make here was that the point that I wanted to make here was that sometimes it makes sense to say, hey, everybody, your final in this class is worth 1,000 points. And over the course of teaching art, animation, design for 20 years, I found that to have little effect, where you're all like, oh my God, oh my God. In a few cases, someone will turn around and say, well, I got to go through the whole pipeline. I got to do my pre-production, my production, my post-production. I got to make sure this thing looks really great for some sort of final presentation. And having said that, there are a few instances where it has taken a grade and made it significantly better at the end as a final. There's also instances where, because I've weighted it like that, that the student has downgraded themselves and taken a grade from a B to a D because they either missed the final or they kind of just dropped the ball and kind of forgotten about the weighting of the points that were going on all semester long. So, and I think that this is rather fair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pay attention to whatever the points are off to the right here, attached to your name. And if anything is close, I will have to go through everything and say, okay, I'm going to redo the point value. And in redoing the point value, it should help everybody, not just that one person. More than likely, I won't have to do that. More than likely. All right, so having said that, let me just record what I've got here for animatics. So I've got a animatic from Randy, but Randy's not here right now. So keep this in mind. This is another thing to think about, that Kenyatta doesn't place a whole big point value on attendance, but other schools do. Like when I'm at the academy, if you miss 3 classes, you fail the class. They have 15-week semesters. If you miss 3 classes, you fail the class.
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to start critiques here in just 1 second. And as I'm doing this, let me know if you have uploaded anything to the animatic folder here. I'm going to just go through animatics right now. All right, so this is Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Squeaky Bat, how are you?
Okay. Was I supposed to add sound?
No,
Okay. Okay, good.
no, usually adding sound is a very big deal. There is an instructor at City College who runs animation classes for his wife's 3rd grade art class. And he does phenomenal things and then adds sound in for them with, you know, kids music or whatever. And it's astonishing. It's crazy. It's beautiful. It takes whatever the kids do and puts it on a completely different plane. But the kids don't know how to do that. 3rd graders don't know how to animate and put sound on top of animation. He makes their stuff look really good, man. All right, so this is not opening. So let me ask you, how did you make this animatic, Lauren?
I put it together in After Effects.
And you rendered it?
I rendered it in After Effects.
You rendered it out of After Effects?
Yes.
All right. From what I understand, there's a new thing. And you can't just do that. Excuse me. Because, well, let me just take a look here, but this took a while to open, right? It took a while to download. So what we're looking at is 1.5 gigs. See that right there? 1.5 gigs. And I discovered this in March of 2018, April or May of 2018, where the Creative Cloud changed their codec in After Effects. And remember, we didn't talk about this last week. And have you tried to do any work in After Effects recently?
Yeah.
And have you got those things to work as QuickTime movies?
Not. I thought it was just me. Like I try to play it as a QuickTime, and like if I have sound, sound will play, but the picture won't. I thought that was just my computer.
Something like that. What the new thing is, and what Adobe didn't tell anybody, is that the files are, they come in as like these raw files, need to be taken in a media encoder. That's the only way they'll work. So I'm going to try to open this with a VLC player. And it looks like I don't have VLC. Oh yeah, because I haven't put it on this computer. Do you have media encoder?
I don't think so.
How do you have After Effects? Yeah.
Oh, I do have media encoder. Look at that.
All right, so do this. You know how to use it?
Not really.
It's not too difficult. Open up media encoder.
Okay.
And then drag your file onto it. And then just hit play, which is actually the technical term for rendering in media encoder. And then rename it a different file, and then put that one back in the classroom. And I'll come back to you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, because this file is not going to play. And media, and you can dig around the internet to say, how do I use media? It's actually really easy. You might find that you don't even have to look at anything online. And then let me know when you've got it uploaded. Okay, Annika. There was a reason why I did the animatic demo last week in Rough Animator, because it's just so much easier. All right. Let's see how close Annika got to our demo. We've got a little camera move in there. All right, timing looks good, Annika. Are you there? Do you have your microphone on, Annika?
Yeah.
I can only imagine that my demo from last week gave you a really good idea of what to do. Oh, it's her birthday. Very good, Annika. Clap for Annika, everybody, please. Okay, this is right where you want to be. I think that you've got a nice consistency in line style. There's not any place where things look over-rendered. There's not any place where things look underdrawn. It all looks like you did it. It doesn't look like you traced it. It has a very consistent look to it. Very good. In your animatic, the timing in your animatic is really well done. And I think that one thing that everyone can take away from my demo last week and just the reiteration of this today is that don't be afraid of big numbers when you're doing animatics. 128 frames is only 5 seconds. So don't be afraid of 128. Just put it in there and start with it. Your story looks good. The drawing's good. The poses are okay. And I was worried just right in here that you were going a little camera move heavy, but it plays okay. One of the things that you used to be able to do with QuickTime is that you could play it. You could pick any number of different play speeds and really get a different feel for what your animation was looking like in terms of timing. But yeah, with the new QuickTime player, that's just gone. So you kind of just have to use your mouse. But it looks very good, Annika. Very good. Once again, clap for Annika. I'm just wondering about one thing here. So in your story here, this is a lady character. It looks like she turns into the bird in this shot right here. And that's a question.
Yeah, it is. She does.
So, and I just wanted to ask you this because I didn't ask you this last week. What is her intent? What is her intention for leaving? Why does she want to leave?
I guess I was just thinking maybe like she goes on errands or something. It's just basically to get her out of the picture.
So she's not running away.
No.
Okay. And then her buddies all go make her a cake. And they use a cleaver to do it, which is kind of crazy. And then she comes back to a surprise birthday cake. All right, so I just wanted to say that there's a couple of things just in terms of story that you might want to address here. And that is that I don't think you have to give it away. And I think that the idea here of her transitioning from a human into a bird, in the story panels, I think you might get away with just drawing number 1, number 2, number 3 for the evolution of the transition, so that we know that it's not just 3 birds, if you know what I mean. And I also think that you don't need to explain exactly what she does when she goes away to run on her errand or anything like that. But I think it also might be important to just take a shot of her going over the mountains. You know, so these mountains are here in front of us. The mountains that are over here, it might work just to your advantage if we see her going over the mountains and disappearing. Right, and then you could cut back to all of this, and then as she's coming back in, instead of just this, you start for having the bird come back over the mountains and then cut back into this. It gives the familiarity with her intention of just doing an errand instead of running away. That's the only thing I see in terms of story. Other than that, it looks good. Thank you, Annika. Again, clap, clap, clap.
Thank you.
All right, how's that going, Lauren?
Should be resubmitted.
Okay. So in resubmitting, did you take the other one out, or did you just put it, you took the other one out? Okay, yeah, I see it there.
Remove the other one.
No, it's right on top of it, okay. Oops, I didn't want to do that, hold on. Yep, it works.
Huzzah!
I told you could do it. The rescue. Lauren?
Yes.
Is this a nickname you've given yourself? Is this your stage name?
That is my name.
That is your name. I thought your name was Lauren Campbell.
That is my last name. Katori is my middle name.
Aha, okay. That's all I wanted to know.
So it is both a stage name and it is also my name.
Okay, cool. And you say Katora?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, let's play this. All that devastation at the end. Lauren Katora, everybody. Put your wet back flippers together. Okay, I think this looks really good. I think that you cut from your title card into this camera move, which is fine. It's technically a device, a cinematic device called cutting on action, even though there isn't a lot of things moving around, but it's too fast. Take this camera move and slow it down. And so I'm just going to drag my playhead to emulate that speed. So let this be your enlightenment. You could go as slow as you want here, right? And spend even a little bit more time, and then cross dissolve into something like this. All right, and then at speed, you can see the mayhem that's happening. So the reason that I mentioned this is because all of this mayhem is great, and I think the timing is all fine here. But what you need is a contrast to that speed. So this section right here could be really, really slow. Watch. Let your audience look at it. Let your audience study it. What is going on? Those guys have guns. And then you cut here, you hold on that for a moment, and I'm still moving. And then the mayhem starts. You see how it feels right there? So that was at least 128 frames at the beginning. All right, it looks good, Lauren. You can see that the images are a little aliased because you're translating smallish.
Yeah, from small to big. So I guess
small kind of drawings to what was your stage size. 1280 by 720.
Yeah, it was the what is it?
So yeah, it just gets a little alias because it gets blown out.
I think I just drew the original drawings just a little too small.
I don't think that's an issue. I think that you just need to realize that one thing that you would want to do going into production is to draw with vectors. So draw in Toon Boom. Find some application where your drawings are vectors, and don't draw in Flash because that's the worst. All right, once again, Lauren, everybody, clap for Lauren, please. Congratulations on teaching yourself Media Encoder.
Yay!
All right, Ryan.
Mine does have sound, by the way.
It's okay. I have the speakers turned on. All right, Ryan's bombs away. Ryan Michelson, everybody, put your put together for Ryan Michelson. So I think this works pretty well. I think your line style could use a little sprucing up a little bit, but that's okay. I think that your story is working. In the act of sprucing up, I think that I asked you to make sure that as many shots as possible had a background, foreground, and midground element in them. And I think that there's still some shots that need that attention played to them. I like the idea that he's not waiting until 000 to cut the wires. You know, nothing in cinema, it doesn't always have to be that stupid Tom Cruise Mission Impossible thing where he saves the bomb from going off at the last moment. But I do think that what you want to do is now think about your torch. You know, it's there, but in this shot right here, this bomb only has wires. It didn't technically have a fuse. So once he cuts the wires and he's like, shoo, he does that. Okay, that's great. But I think that you need to just be a little bit more obvious about how that torch actually starts the bomb, because right now the torch is like tangential to the assembly line behind him. You know what I mean? And we don't see how it actually starts the fuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the idea is that I think he was supposed to light it like while he was cutting the wire. Like he was so focused on cutting the wire that he didn't realize he lit the other wire.
I understand. And so what your job as the artist, storyteller, animator is that you have to get your camera in the right place. So if we go backwards just a little bit, when he's cutting the wire here, you need to show this happening. you would also need to show this torch causing one of these to get red hot, or the red one up here, right? Or both, where this torch has caused a little fire on this wire, which fire raised up and caught this, which became a fuse. And so when he thinks that he's all clear, then he looks at his bomb and he can see that he's not. And then you have the explosion. So it's just the idea of getting your cameras in the right place. All right, once again, Brian, everybody. All right, I'm going to refresh this screen. Not a. Oh, okay, good. All right, so Nada, how did you make this animatic?
I made it in Procreate.
Procreate. All right, so you chose to do the example of the board where you have the slug on there. So let's take a look at this. Okay, hands together for Nada, everybody. Nice. I think it all came together really well. Your timing looks a little repetitive. Remember, one of the things I cautioned everyone about last week was to make sure that the duration of your shots is as different as you can get them to be from any shot that's around it, to the left or to the right on the timeline. So that plays itself into the idea of pacing. The beginning of your stories can always have longer shots for the enlightenment, for the introduction. But you always want to try to get some sort of variation in timing. And so if I look through here just quickly, it seems like you didn't give some shots a really fast cut, and you didn't give some shots a really long cut. I think that's all you really need. I think it reads. I think everyone understands what's going on. The only artistic suggestion I might make is that instead of making it just a regular size apple, to make it just a little bigger, so that it, so that it looks like it might hurt a little more. The risk is that if you make it too big, then you've got James and the Giant Peach. But it looks great. It looks really, really good. Thank you, Nada. Hands together for Nada, everybody, please. And you should all be like giving her the little thumbs up, right? I can't do it because when I'm running this, I lose that. I lose that. Oh, I have reactions. Oh, I do have reactions. You can put your little hands up. Oh, there we go. All right, thank you, Nada. All right, Randy. All right, What's the first thing I'm going to say, Randy?
Timing.
No. Try again. Everything is too fast. There's no title card. Everything is way too fast.
Yeah, the title cards. I accidentally have it at the end.
All these shots are too fast. You want to develop your actions. You want to let your audience be able to see what's going on, whether or not it's animation or live action. You want, in your enlightenment and your introspection and your introduction, you always want to give as much time as possible to the characters walking down the sidewalk, tripping. Whoa, do this in slow motion. And give like a couple of drawings where he's here and then it lands on its head. But when you look at it at speed, the drawings that you have are hard to see because it's going so fast. All right, and I think that it's going so fast that we, as the audience, don't quite get the idea that the bad guys are doing one thing and that the rumble that is your robots fighting with each other comes in and thwarts their efforts to rob the bank. Because I think that you may have understood just how difficult that would have been to draw, but I think that at least you should have tried. Because right now it's like, if you follow it quickly, yeah, they're fighting, they're rumbling, they rumble into the bank. And if I do this, I'm pausing it long enough that you can kind of see the escalation of the story just a little bit more. I think you're drawing digitally. So this is an example of going back in there and seeing if you can find a more happy place between your drawings with pencil and your line style with the stylus itself. So it's a good example of looking at it and saying, this is a good sketch, but now taking it to more of a tie down kind of level. And we didn't really talk about that too much, but timing, make the timing is all just a little too fast. Randy, put your, what fat flavors good for Randy, everybody? I want to see little electronic hands, please. I don't see hands. Hands, please. Or anything. Thank you. All right. Moses. Okay, did I download one? Moses. All right, clap for Moses here, everybody. When I'm looking at this, my first reaction is I wish you would have paid attention to the idea of pacing, because just like Randy's, yours is just a little too fast. So let me drive the pacing with the mouse here. And again, you want to just spend as much time in these introduction shots as possible. So I'm just kind of letting it live. So they're walking. You could just let this go and give that just a whole bunch of time. They're walking into a cave. If you need to, let him have something in his hand that lights the torch. I kind of like the idea of him striking it on the wall. Spend some time. All right, and this is their point of view. So they've discovered that they're in a lair. They've discovered the whole cave of treasure. So I think that what's missing here, and remember, this is the first time I've seen this, is that I would have had you do a reverse angle shot on both of their faces so that they could see the reaction of what they've just found. I think that becomes really important. Oh boy, and then, they're gonna spend some time gathering up all their treasure. And then what does he do here? What is he doing right here, Moses?
He's tossing the rat into the hole. Or
So that looks like a box.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of continuity error because the rat was over here. He was on the left. And so when you go to this shot, the continuity is that this is not the rat.
Mhm.
Just by the way the rules of cinema work, this appears out of nowhere. All right, so he tosses the rat down the hole, and he jumps down the hole too.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I talk about in my story class is motivation. So up here they've got like gold and jewels and all kinds of equipment and stuff. Does he look down this hole and see even more? And if he does, then you are obligated to show that to us.
Mhm.
And if there's a ladder, why didn't he take the ladder rather than try to kill his friend? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That becomes really important, because kicking him down a 30-foot hole could kill him. And if it doesn't, then he's just going to jump. Then why even have a ladder? You know what I mean? So they land with a thump, and then they realize that the Snake King has been awakened. Is it a Snake King?
Yeah, kind of.
So what is he trying to do here? What is he trying to do? He's trying to
take the amulet off his neck.
Okay. So as a story point, I think that it might be better to draw this amulet more awesomely. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just so that it looks like it's something more interesting to steal. And then he tries to steal it, and he's not successful. Or is he successful? Does he steal it?
Yeah.
Okay. But that awakens him, and they get chased. And they give each other a high five. Okay, so what is the, just in terms of story, what is the thing that prevents the Snake King from coming out of the hole and attacking them?
I just didn't think that like a man or a creature without legs could get up a ladder easily.
Have you ever seen a video of a snake climbing a tree?
I don't think I have, no.
Oh my God, they not only can climb trees, they can climb trees really fast.
I've seen
It's
a
really
snake climb a
scary.
tree. It's scary. It's scary when they fall out of a tree too.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, you remember, and so just a couple of things to think about here, just in terms of story, is that this Snake King, this is his lair, this is his place, this is his ladder.
Mhm.
Otherwise, why is the ladder there? He should be able to climb that ladder. It might be a little slow, but that should give your heroes a little bit more time to give themselves a high five, gather up all the other treasure and leave. And that's one option. The other option is to look after they get up out of here, is to look back down the hole and try to throw stuff at it.
Mhm.
You know, there might be rocks, or in your opening shot here, there were stalagmites and stalactites. They could actually break those off the wall and try to throw them at the Snake King, or there's a number of different things you can do where he could even bang on the walls and try to create rocks falling, which should be enough to close up the hole. And then as he's doing this, he realizes that not only closes up the hole, but it starts closing up the whole cave. And then so now they got to like figure out how much they can carry and get out of there really fast. And so that they don't do their celebrating here, they do their celebrating right outside the cave.
Mhm.
So if we would have seen this in the last couple of weeks, I could have directed you. So one thing that is kind of plays into my point here about art and line styles is that I think that you've got something interesting going on with these little scribbly lines that you would want to try to take to the next level. It's like the idea of Ed, Ed, and Eddie, where the lines are just kind of like traced back and they're moving around. See if you can explore that just a little more. But once again, hands please for Moses. Reactions, Moses. All right, thank you, Moses. I'm going to refresh this. Is there anyone who uploaded in the last couple of minutes?
I uploaded what I had from what we talked
Chloe.
about last week.
All right, so remember, always start out with your 16 by 9 aspect ratio.
Yeah, I had some so I made this with the Photoshop timeline. And I had like an issue trying to shrink the canvas, or trying to fix the canvas size with the thumbs that I had, because I've only gotten thumbs for the new story that we'd been talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would fix that for sure. And then I
see what you did. Okay.
Yeah.
To be continued. Chloe, Kim, everybody put it together. All right, so congratulations on getting into and out of Photoshop and the animation timeline. It's always a strange thing. One thing that I might have done was directed you to do your title card so that it fit into this frame. So that
would have been
like if Paul was going to use this in his spring show event, that all he would have had to have done was trim the entire video to fit in his window, and then everything would fit. So you've got the action happening. I think that you now want to take it up to my rules: background, foreground, midground elements. And again, just making that transition from the pencil on paper into the digital media. And just spending some time organizing your own thoughts and processes and pipelines about how you're going to do that. And it's to be continued. All right. I want to see some clapping for Chloe, please. Yay. Yay. There you go. Thanks, Luis.
I have a question.
No problem.
Thanks. How much, since we had talked about last week how I restarted my storyboard, how much would you like submitted by the end of the, like, you know, that's like at the end of the week, but how much of it would you like? Because I have my thumbnails for most of the new storyboard, which is some of them I put in here, but the rest I'm still reorganizing to order.
So This is a good question for everyone. You've already got the animatic, and so you don't need to do anything except for a multiple page PDF. And I probably will do, I can put it towards Friday at 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
So everyone, if you're submitting anything late or extra credit, or missing work, Friday at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, did anybody else submit? All right, let us take a 15-minute break, and when we come back, we will look at the JPEGs, the PDFs part. Okay, so what I have is I have BG's thumbs, boards, and all finals. This is coming in from Victor and this is new today. So the other one we saw was from last week. And this is for today. So what we have is our map, some backgrounds. All right, so remember, Victor, I need 16:9 aspect ratios here. Remember how to do that? Victor?
Sorta, maybe. I mean, I'm still a little unsure, but yeah.
Well, we did like a thing here. We talked about 16 divided by 9 being a ratio that comes out to 1.7777. And so you decide how big you want to draw. If you want to be 16:9, that's too big. So if you're going to draw 8 divided by 4.5, that's the same exact ratio. That's still too big, right? So what I had recommend to everybody was 4 by 2.25, 4 by 2.25, and that's the same ratio. So 4.2.25, 4 by 2 1/4. So both in the lectures and in the demos and in the recordings. So you're starting out by using the wrong ratio. All right, your characters enter. Camera comes in on the character at the door. You could have zoomed in there. He comes up to the other two characters. So Victor, I'm just confused what's happening in panel 11. So the character that is coming up into the camera from the door has flat hair. And the two characters here, one has a hat on and the other one has flat hair as well. So where does this character come from with the Sonic the Hedgehog hair?
Oh, he just came from the shadow. I mean, that's what I established in frames 7 and 8.
Oh, okay. So who is this character?
Oh, it's just a tuxedo guy. I mean, yeah.
That's this guy?
Oh, that's the main.
Is this guy the same as this guy?
No.
So it can't be this guy because this guy has a hat.
Yeah.
And if you're this close and this guy's the same guy walking up, then why doesn't he have the spiky hair?
Wait, what?
So in panels 9, 10, and 11, and even in 8, one of your characters has spiky hair. See that?
Yeah.
So who is that the same character as this guy right here?
Well, the thing is, like he's on the right of the frame, though. But yeah.
Is he a fourth character?
Well, yeah.
So the idea of establishing where your characters are with like the map is that you would place your characters in the map and then put your camera so that you understand, oh, with your establishing shot, you need to show where that fourth character is, because it becomes really confusing if you have this guy coming up into the camera and then all of a sudden he switches into a new character. Because to me, this is a close-up of this Tux guy, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to a side view where he starts moving and then he changes, because if this doorway is the same as this doorway, then he's just morphed into this character, and that becomes confusing. I'm trying to just figure out what's going on just by the action alone. So this character with the spiky hair jumps off the screen and
Yeah.
then he leaves. So it's just confusing, because is the guy with the spiky hair, he's standing next to this character right here that's just an outline, right? See that?
Yeah.
So is this character that's just an outline the same character, this guy with the bandana around his neck?
No, not really.
So who you have to just be consistent with your who your characters are. So it's got to be this character. In any regard, a fight ensues. I think that what you have is you have the panel numbers, but I think you need shot numbers too. The idea of a slug becomes important. Your fighting sequence where the characters are just going at it here, I think that you need just a regular 1-point perspective rather than a 1-point vertical, because it ends up looking like a map. It ends up looking like you're looking at all this action from the top of a telephone pole. It's just not the best way to show the action. So they have their actions, they're fighting here, and now they're separated, and now they're going to throw some sort of plasma beams at each other.
Yeah.
And this guy flips out of the way and he tackles your other character. And then this other third character comes in here and he's got what appears to be a club. And then it's a magic club and he's going to obliterate both of them.
Well,
So
already.
in panel 32, does he just obliterate the bad guy?
Yeah.
Your guy with the magic sword, the guy with the magic plasma sword, in panel 32, he sends off some magic right there. And that does that obliterate the both characters or just one character?
Just one character. I mean, I sort of had drawn some lines on the 31 frame, just indicating that he just jumps out of frame.
Oh, yeah, I think there's a better way to draw that. Think about it more like a comic book. And you want to show your actions so that it's obvious. You always want to start out being obvious. All right, and so they win the battle. They get chased after the guy. Okay, so I think that the idea when we were doing these storyboards is to go back to the idea of you're calling this your map, but this is technically almost a 1-point vertical layout as a background, which is fine. But remember that in one of our original critiques, I suggested not doing that and using just regular, normal 3.5, 4-foot cameras and placing those cameras within your map. I think that just from what we can see, that your story is working and you've got the action worked out. I think you just need to make sure your screen aspect ratio is the correct ratio. and that you're showing as many characters as you need on the screen so that the audience is not confused as to who's doing what. You could cut to a couple of close-ups here if you needed to, but it's there. So hands for Victor, please. Hands for Victor. Thank you, Victor. All right, so we are in thumbnails. So this is Annika just posting this again. So once again, this is great. Thank you, Annika. And this is Chloe. Oh, and this is the rest. So this is your story. There's your characters that we're working on.
Yeah, I put the you'll see the thumbs that I had for the animatic in there too. As well as the other ones, they're just really out of order. So I was only able to get through so
Right.
many of them for the animatic today.
Right. Are these in order right here?
They're all kind of like they're not in the particularly the right sequence. They're kind of all over the place. So I guess you could say they're in order. They kind of just jump all over the page. I just kind of like kind of drew where there was space. And then the rest were just the settings that I was going to use, and then some of them I started.
Background settings, okay.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, and we had talked about this. Okay, so just reminding everyone, thank you, Chloe. Hands for Chloe. Just remember, your deadline is 4 o'clock on Friday. So got that, Chloe. Junho, Yunwei, sorry. Yunwei. All right, so you have your character design page. Please remember, use multiple light sources, Yunwei. This is the hardest thing to clean up in Photoshop. Use multiple light sources. I have one drawing here. Is this the only thing you had for today?
Just schedule.
Yeah, I only see this JPEG. Yunwei, did you have storyboards?
I already sent to next weekend. Professor has already explained mine. This is just this is sketchbook.
Just the sketch.
Extra, yeah, extra sketchbook. Yeah.
All right. Well, as we go to the next column, just tell me where to go. All right. This is Ryan, and that's just Ryan's boards. Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Nada. All right. Those are just your JPEGs. Randy. All right, and you broke yours up here. And those are your boards. Okay, thank you, Randy. Rachel. Rachel, are you here tonight? Okay, I didn't see Rachel. Yeah, I think she's not here tonight. All right, so let's just take a look. She's got similar, we've seen these, she's been developing these for a couple weeks. She's got the panel number, shot number, the slug, little screen direction. It looks like she's attending to the details that we talked about last week. All right, so if you're seeing this, Rachel, one thing that I think you haven't done yet was just try to add in some tone so that your characters pop off the background. We can see them a little better. Other than that, I think it's reading pretty well. Yeah, okay, thank you, Rachel. And then to the other column. All right, so my suspicion is that some of you have files for presentation today in someplace else, like we have in the sketchbook right here, Yunwei. Well, this is just the same thing. So did you have your boards for today, Yunwei?
Not yeah. I think I sent last weekend. Thumbs.
Do you remember where you?
Yeah. On thumbs two.
Do you remember? Okay.
Thumbs.
Thumbs two. Yeah, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just a reiteration. Your background with your map, character designs. So these sketches are still not in aspect ratio form. You're just studying, which is fine. Right, and I think that I had suggested to adjust your camera a little bit. In some shots, the camera looks like it's just a little far away. The story is there, the drawings are there. Yeah, I think you would just work on the storyboard portion of your presentation. All right, so Yunwei, thank you. Clap your hands for Yunwei. All right, is there anything, thank you everybody. Is there anything here, did anyone upload anything that I've missed? Did anybody upload anything that I didn't share with the class or that we didn't see?
I think there should be something of mine in the animatic thing now.
Animatic, okay.
Yeah.
I also think I have a sketch.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a new file in there as well. Because I've been working on it.
Right, so that was Rio, right?
Yeah.
I also have a sketchbook.
Okay, and who is that?
Randy.
Randy, and okay, I see that down there, okay. Let's do the sketchbook first. Oh, okay, I'll take these, Randy. Try to keep your forms a little bit more organic. Think about it more like life drawing, anatomy, if you will. All right, I made a note of that. Thank you, Randy. And now let's go back. All right, that was Chloe, right?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. We already, yeah. You saw that.
Oh, wait, so what am I looking for? We already saw this, right?
Yeah, we already saw this.
All right, so what was I looking for? Now I'm lost.
Rhea. Yeah.
Oh, Ria, okay. Thank you, Chloe. So my idea is that it hurts getting old, so don't get old. Ria,
Yeah. Mine has audio. I tried to do it to a little song.
I know, but where is it?
Scroll up. Morrison.
Oh, I always look for R.
Yeah.
All right, that one?
Yep.
All right, got it. Ria, everybody put your wet fat flickers together for Ria and Morrison.
Yeah, I haven't finished the end, but
Well, there's a couple of things to think about.
and I think
here.
the audio is a bit loud. I'm not sure how to fix that. I need to.
Well, I think that one thing that you may want to do is build a sequence where they walk up to this desk with a computer on it, and that the action is really slow. But put a title card in there, right? And
Right.
then you have an introduction where maybe they're just gesturing to each other back and forth, left and right, left and right. And then after they've said a few things non-verbally, then
Then have the
you
audio.
can crash into the idea of exposing the drama that's going on between them. Because I think that what this reads like, let me kill the audio.
Yeah.
Is that it reads like this is the crisis. This is the fight of the story, which is reading pretty well. But I think you just have to get into it and then get out of it. So you've got the idea of them going through the crisis. You just have to get into it and get out of it. But it's looking pretty good. I think it reads. But I also think that it's kind of a dangerous thing to try to do a music video and then try to be really precise about pace and dragging things out in terms of story, in terms of pace, where things are longer or slower, because if you're trying to do it to the beat, you're just going to end up having a music video. So that's just the other side of the coin, that if you aren't worried about just the difference in timing within your pace, then stay true to the timing of the music video. All right, thank you, Ria. All right, is there anybody else? Anybody? I don't hear any whispers out there. All right, some final thoughts for all of you. The final thoughts are kind of just a reiteration of what I had said in my introduction for today. And that is that for whatever you are doing in media arts and animation, remember that there are hotbeds for animation in Los Angeles. It's kind of hard to live down there if you don't have a car or you're not willing to drive around all over the place. There's a little bit of animation up here. There's also a little bit of animation that happens remotely. But if you want to stay in the Bay Area, one of the things to consider is getting in with a game company. And for whatever you're doing, if your ultimate goal is to do character design, you can certainly do character design for game companies. If you wanted to do animation, it's not quite as easy. There are places in a game studio for animation. But keep that in mind. If you're willing to move to another country, that's always an opportunity that you should take when you're young and not when you're old and grumpy like me. And then when you're doing that, remember that there's a couple of things that play into this, and that is that when I mentioned portfolio reel, show reel, demo reel, all of that's online. All of that is online now. So you should be developing your own website, which is not a terrifying thing. Just use Wix or Weebly or Carbon Made. There's a lot of free websites out there, and start now so that you can keep putting things up there and polishing it. You don't have to spend money to get any of these websites up and running, but you do have to polish it. You just have to put your best work up front, and you have to end strong. You don't want to put everything that you've ever done up on your website. That's not the point. You start with your best and you end strong. I know some artists who have separate websites for animation, and another separate website for character design, and another one for illustration. A friend of mine who teaches at State has a website dedicated to 3D modeling, and then another part of his website dedicated to sculpture, and then another one to experimental animation. And then they all kind of drive into one main website. So that's a possibility now too. Keeping in mind the 5 fundamental things that we just talked about in our introduction today, and that is art. Pay attention to all the rules of art, and you owe it to yourself to make sure that you're being honest with whatever line style it is, whatever your drawing for animation is. You can have a whole range of things from very loose to very precise to very cleaned up. Pay attention to story. People love the idea of game artists who can put little interstitials in there, little story parts in there. And remember to go exploring. Just to spend time thinking about American story is it's not as honest as it could be as exploring story from every other country in the world. Animation has tons of different ranges of styles, from very, very limited, and the drawings are wonderful, to extremely well animated, lots of weight, lots of squash and stretch. Cartoony, it could be realistic kind of timing, lots of different variation there. And then the fourth one is, remember, always pay attention to cinema. That's kind of like one of the things that Paul put in this class here, drawing for animation, right at the very end, is that we are always doing these drawings for some kind of animation. And because of that, cinema is our go-to first response. We have everything to owe to all the rules of cinema: cameras, camera angles, camera lenses, light. Whenever you're doing backgrounds, that all is set because your cameras are in one place. And my catchphrase is that animation always starts and ends with the camera. It starts with the camera by thinking about what your thumbnails look like, what your storyboards look like, and then when you're actually drawing and animating it, making sure that whether you're drawing it on paper or Toon Boom or Maya, that your cameras are in the right place. Animation always starts and ends with the camera, always. So you guys should have a camera sense of mind, a cinematic sense of mind. And then just remember that we talked about a couple of things probably mid-semester here when we got to our character design phase, was that there's tons of people who work freelance doing character design. They work all over the world. Get good at it, and you can work freelance doing character design. But I think that you owe it to yourself to do as much research as possible. And I always keep a rolling list of new artists that I find that are interesting to me and influential to me. There's some of them show up on my storyboard board. Other ones live in separate folders on my computer here at the house. So just keep in mind those 5 things. And art is going to stay alive in the Bay Area as long as we keep at it. Remembering that for many years, the tech sector and the .com thing just drove art out of the Bay Area like crazy mad. And right now I'm seeing little glimmers, little places where even art in public schools in the Bay Area is trying to make a resurgence. So that's a good thing. For a solid 10 years there, I was very worried that San Francisco and every other community around San Francisco was becoming the tech sector. And you couldn't even apply to a job anywhere if you didn't know how to write code. And so that's kind of diminished a little bit, especially the pandemic put a stop to some of that. So hopefully we'll see an upswing in art for animation, game design, cinema, all of that in the next wing here. All right, just a quick reminder, this is recorded, so we'll put this back up on the discussion area. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to email me or anything, but if you have anything late or missing, I will see it. Put it in any of those folders by 4 o'clock on Friday. That is your drop dead deadline for spring semester 21. All right, does anyone have any comments, questions for me before I turn Zoom off and let you go to your next final? Okay, I got you, everybody. Thanks for a great semester. I will see you autumn semester if you're around. If you're around. Thanks for a great semester, everybody. Ciao for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Ciao for now.
Billy.
you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much, Professor.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.